Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished professional from Mumbai, India, Mr. Krishnakumar Ramanathan. KK, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute delight to be on your podcast.
Thank you. Mr. Ramanathan is the Managing Director and Group CEO of SNS Power Switchgear. So, KK, before we talk about leadership and manufacturing excellence, tell me a little bit about your own background and what made you get into this particular industry.
Well, thanks, Ashutosh. I graduated in 1992 with a degree in mechanical engineering from Bharatiyar University in Coimbatore. And through my campus job placement, I got a job opportunity as a trainee engineer in an automotive parts manufacturing company. So that was called Coimbatore Forging. So I spent 2 years on the shop floor as a trainee engineer, understanding production and scheduling and quality and all of these basic underlying rules. After which, I got a job offer from Crompton Greaves, which was in a completely different domain in sales and marketing. So I took it up because it was something different and I felt it would be a different challenge to me. So I took it up. And 2 years later, I got a job offer from Siemens. And that was a decision that I think fundamentally changed the trajectory of my life, my thinking, and everything. Because moving from an Indian company to a global multinational, you're exposed to vastly differing layers of thought, structure, nuance, and always a 5 year plan and a 5 year strategy, a product portfolio, and management. And also talking about technology, benefitizing all your products to consumers, how to sell premium products. So it was a completely different experience.
Hmm.
And that is where I think I spent the most of my career. I spent about 27 years at Siemens across various roles. And to be candid, to answer the first part of your question, in those days, when I graduated in 92, pretty much you basically took whatever job you were offered. There were not so many options for a graduating engineer. I think that fundamentally changed towards the latter part of the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah,
But in those days, pretty much you took a job and you stuck with the company. And I think I was fortunate enough to bag that job opportunity from Siemens because it gave me the opportunity to work across multiple cities, multiple products, multiple technologies, and a very diverse set of colleagues. So that fundamentally changed the way I worked, I think, I thought, and how I strategized. How
Hmm.
provided a lot of opportunities for my learning as well. Very structured learning programs, both on hard skills and soft skills. And I think that is fundamentally it, right? All of us graduate with some hard skills. We have certain
Sure,
skills and we get
sure.
hired for those. But my belief is that you get promoted for your soft skills. You get hired for hard skills and promoted for soft skills. So
Hmm.
those are the things which
Very
you basically
interesting.
learn through your
Yeah.
role. Because for me, I am coming from a small town, India. I think the soft skills was a big revelation to me. The importance of soft skills. Initially, I used to feel, is it really so important? Yeah, it's only hard skills that matter. But later you realize that soft skills play big role behind the scenes in terms every conversation that you have, right? Every
Hmm.
meeting you have. I think soft skills play a big role. And your podcast is called The Brand Call You. So I think soft skills really make the brand call you, not hard
Correct,
skills.
correct.
So it has been a phenomenal journey, I would say. And
Hmm.
as we speak today, I complete about 32 years of work experience. And it's been a huge journey. I would say I call it shop floor to top floor.
Hmm.
So I think it's been a very, very good journey so far. And
Yeah, wonderful.
yeah,
Wonderful. So, an area that you have been quite interested in and you've been involved in also is leadership and culture. So, my next few questions are relating to leadership and culture. How would you describe your own leadership philosophy and how has it evolved?
yeah. So I think when you start off, when I first became a manager, and I was very, very directive in my approach, and it was kind of hard to cede control. And I think I tried to do it as if only I could do it best. And but later on, I realized that leadership is not about me, and it's like the captain of the Indian cricket team. It's about the performance of the team, and not about the captain himself or herself. So I think this is the biggest change. As you learn sometimes the hard way, as I did, that you need to empower more and more, let go more and more, in order to really let your team succeed and let them soar and let them fly. And that actually makes a big difference. So leadership is a lot about letting go. Also, in that, it's not a digital zero and one kind of scenario. It's multiple gradations. So there are certain people who really need handholding and support. Typically, could be trainees, sometimes people who do not have sufficient domain experience in a particular subject or topic. They need handholding before you can let them go. Some people are genuine entrepreneurs and they don't like to be micromanaged and they have sufficient domain expertise. So you let them go from day, but always with all of these, there has to be regular review, sync cycles so that things are going on track.
Mm.
But by and large, each person, I would say, a leader has to be able to gauge to some extent and decide the degree of autonomy that he can give to him or her. And I think that is what makes
Well,
the team
fantastic.
work.
That's a great response. And KK, you worked in India and Europe. How did you adapt your own leadership style in different cultural contexts?
Yeah, I think the management style in Europe is very different. It's very there. It is hierarchical, but it's very empowered as well. So in India, I see it as hierarchical, but not as empowered. So I
Mm.
think that is a fundamental difference. And in fact, I wrote a blog about this, symphony and cacophony, something like that. So I think the best part is in Europe. If you look at their style of music, it is the symphony orchestra where you have 100 plus instruments all playing in perfect harmony and rhythm with each other, and there's a conductor who guides a piece of music. Everything is very regimented, very
Yeah.
strict, very laid down, very process oriented.
Mm.
Nobody deviates. But in India, we don't have a symphony orchestra, but we do have our own Hindustani and Carnatic rag-based things where you're given a certain template, but within the template or rag, you can sing what you want, you can do
Mm.
what you want. So it's some very unstructured at times, but I think they all follow different disciplines. And the European mind may initially be confused, seeing the level of chaos, a seeming disorder, and the Indian guy might feel, as I did, very suffocated at times, looking at so much of structure and
Mm.
regimen in whatever they do. But I think once you cut through the clutter of the initial few weeks, you realize that ultimately the substance is the same. They are just different approaches to each other. One is from the left side and one is from the right side. But
Mm.
they have to converge somewhere in the center, and that
Right.
center is common. I
Mm.
think once you figure that out, it makes life easier.
Mm.
But I thoroughly enjoyed working in Europe, and I believe that the 1 year that I spent in Germany really brought a deep respect in me for a process driven approach as well.
Mm.
Because going from India, you're not really process oriented. You tend to take things on the fly, but you really learn the systematic power of processes.
Mm.
When things go wrong, there's always a process to fall back on, and that process supports you from collateral damage. So I think that is what really helps. So I think
Yep.
that's what I imbibed from the European stint.
Well said. Well said. The other aspect I wanted to get your perspective on was maintaining ethical standards when it comes to leadership. What are your perspectives?
So I think as a leader, you are watched all the time. You're always in the spotlight. And I wouldn't say limelight, you're in the spotlight all the time.
Mm.
And every action and every word of yours is relentlessly scrutinized by everybody around.
Mm.
And a leader cannot afford to exaggerate or underestimate any particular topic.
Mm.
She or he has to trade the center line, the fine
Mm.
line. And the thing comes when you have to communicate transparently to your team if there is a problem, if there is a crisis facing the team or the business or the company. you have to really be cautious how you put forward your thoughts. You
mm,
have to say the truth. At the same time, you have to ensure that you don't set off any alarm bells or panic bells in the organization.
mm,
And at the same time, whenever you're communicating good news, great news, you have to communicate a good message to the organization, but also underpin the fact that there are challenges coming along the way. So it's
mm,
not, we can't get complacent. So leader must maintain that kind of tension and balance when we're delivering positive as well as negative news to the
mm,
company. And I
mm,
think the ethics mainly comes from what about what I call the TST, the think and say and do ratio. And I think the leader that achieves the best proportion of think versus say versus do,
mm,
I think that leader automatically swims to the top of any organization.
mm,
Because whenever you communicate something, people always compare that with what you said earlier or what you might have let slip at some informal cocktail party a few months ago.
mm,
And then you're always compared against your earlier statements and whatever you express as thoughts, sometimes in private settings and all of that. So people always compare, right? And if the lesser the gap between what you're doing and what you heard saying, and at the time you've shared your thoughts, the better it is for you as a leader. Only then you come across as a credible person.
mm,
If there is a gap between what you say and what you do,
mm.
you will
Well
never be
said.
considered an ethical
Yeah.
leader.
Well said. There is another thing that I have often heard a lot of leaders talk about when it comes to communication, is that communication to people down the line must be on a need to know basis. And at the same time, I've spoken to leaders who say communicate more and let people take a call on what is relevant for them. And what are your thoughts?
I think I fully agree with the latter view. And communication, the need to know, I think is pretty relevant in today's times of highly empowered social media, internal social media that companies have. And we all know that, the lie goes halfway around the world by the time truth gets out of the bed. So
Yeah.
it's important that we communicate transparently. Now, there might be certain things, like for example, from a regulatory point of view, before a company communicates certain things to the stock market, you should not communicate internally until. So there are some topics which could still be confidential, which you cannot transparently communicate. That has to be on a need to know basis. But I think barring those, everything relating to a company's direction, the company's performance, the company's challenges, I think everything must be communicated transparently. And today, if you see, Ashutosh, more and more companies have taken down this American concept of a town hall. And in India, town hall used to be only for politicians. Now it is there in all companies as well, where every quarter the leader addresses all the
Mm,
employees and presents how the company has done during the last 3 months. And the employees are then open up with questions: why we're not doing this, or why did we do that, right? Why is this thing still not fixed? So I think a lot of these things are there today. So I fully second with the latter, thinking that it is important to communicate transparently to all the employees. And the old need to know communication is probably only for one or two compliance related topics,
yeah.
otherwise, nothing else. And I fully believe that when you communicate the big picture, you are really creating an empowering environment because then the employees can shape their work and their thought towards a big picture. So it's very
Mm,
important to give the big picture. That is also a mistake that many leaders do, that they reserve the big picture only for the strategic workshop and teams and never to, let's say, the factory workers or to the mid managers. But I believe that the big picture should be presented to all. The big picture is an incredibly powerful tool for everybody to relate to what the company is aspiring for. A big picture is typically 3 to 5 years down the line, and it's a powerful tool to galvanize the organization
yeah.
and bring about synergies, break down silos. I think big picture is very, very important.
Mm, well said. Uh, Most organizations today are also talking a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion. Um, what are your steps? What steps have you taken, or what are your thoughts on DEI within your own organization and in general?
I think it's gaining currency, and it's for me personally. I think it is a very, very important thing. And in a typical manufacturing industry, we are way behind the curve. instead of DEI, but we are making conscious efforts to get there.
Mm,
And I don't believe, I mean, all of us have certain excuses in terms of number of engineers and not having enough
mm,
women. I think, but these are all just excuses. If you have the right intent, you should be able to cover the gap in about 3 to 5 years' time,
right.
which is a target we set for ourselves in the company as well.
Mm,
So we have a positive discrimination when it comes to hiring employees. But for me, diversity is more than just gender diversity. I think we have to have diversity of thought. That is a real diversity. And diversity of thoughts comes in by taking people from different fields, such as if you take somebody from ex-armed forces or somebody like that, or persons with disabilities. I think these are where that real diversity come in, or
mm,
diversity of gender fluid people. So I think this is where the real diversity of thought really comes in to an organization.
mm,
So currently, SNS Par is a very small organization. We have a few hundred employees. So we don't have the latitude of large MNC where you have 10, 15,000 employees. So you can
mm,
do much more. But even within this, we are trying to do our level best by bringing up the number of women employees, right from the shop floor to the middle management layer. So we're doing our bit to ensure more of that. But really, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And equity is really giving everybody the opportunity to speak and to be heard
mm,
and to be listened to. So we do that, and we ensure that everybody is given a choice to express themselves. A recent example was when I was at our factory in Chennai and we had a town hall. I made sure that every person in the room spoke. Generally, people are a bit silent and not everybody speaks up, but I made it a point that everybody speaks. Somebody went around with the mic and everybody compulsorily spoke. So I think these are small things, but they all have big
absolutely.
impacts. And
Absolutely.
inclusion is make everybody feel included in the conversation. Like I said, nobody should be kept out of the room. So I think all these three are important things if you want to fundamentally transform the direction and trajectory of a company.
Mm,
I think DEI is the biggest enabler because they can
absolutely.
amplify your thought
Yeah.
and make it 2x or
Well said.
3x. I think that is the best part of it.
Well said. So now I want to now move to manufacturing excellence in the power sector, an area that you are an absolute expert in. Uh, what role has technology been playing in achieving excellence?
So the earlier reliance was mainly on machinery and workforce. But I think over the years, automation has increasingly played a role,
Mm,
and we are able to automate many of our processes, including automating the machine tools and automating the manufacturing processes. A lot is being done. Um, we are now moving to the IoT space, not so much in the manufacturing, but in terms of our products, trying to make them IoT enabled and
mm,
so that the customers can connect them seamlessly into the overall grid. Um, I must say that in my current organization, we are still not at an optimal stage. We still have to do a lot of work. So we are looking into completely transforming the manufacturing value chain
mm,
in our factories in Calcutta, in our factory in uh, Chennai, as well as in the UK factory. We are looking at how we can completely transform the manufacturing value chain,
mm,
how we can put more technology right from the inspection of components to the dispatch of the finished goods and all the processes in between. What role can technology play to enhance the throughput and reduce the defects and mistakes
mm.
that can happen during manufacturing? I think this is a vital step, and there are a few hundred things that you need to do to ensure that all these things fall in place.
Yeah, yeah.
But we are very clear that this is the way to go forward, and we want to invest more and more in technology and less in terms of just focusing on the men and machinery. So
Mm,
this is a strategic shift that we are
yeah,
looking at.
yeah. And there's a lot of talk in the last 4 or 5 years about managing supply chains. And supply chain businesses or industries going through a massive churn. How are you managing your supply chains to ensure reliability and efficiency?
It is a big challenge. I must be candid because the post-COVID period was the most difficult in terms of recovering from supply chain, where we went from surplus to shortfall, and we were basically scrounging around to get our material supplied on time, leading to delays in our orders and things like that. On the business side, this was also a good time for us because we get a lot of orders from the market, but on the execution side, you're not unable to execute those orders because your
Mm,
supply chain is not keeping. So we are in the middle. So it was a difficult time. And partly we managed that time with investing more in terms of inventory and overstocking,
mm,
increasing our vendor base, and we all did those short-term measures. Coming to now, I would say the situation has normalized more than a year ago. So we
mm,
don't have those kind of shortages and challenges anymore. So we are keen to build up a good forecasting model. And also, the only way to address the challenges we believe is to involve your suppliers as part of your team, as an extended part of your team. So we have these supplier jure fixes and supplier meetings,
mm,
and we want to give them a 3 month rolling forecast of items so that we are able to bring down the inventories, and they also have clear visibility of what we are going to
mm,
procure over the next 3 months' time. And they also ring the alarm bells in case a certain component is going out of stock and we need to overstock, understock. So I think this is what works best for both parties, is to work
mm.
as one team and share with each other what are the trends coming in over the next 3 months or so. And this way, I think, is a harmonious way to work in future as well. Whether it is demand side or supply side, I think this is the best way to work.
Absolutely. Well said. So I have time for two more questions. What future trends do you see shaping the power sector, and how are you preparing for them?
So I think very clearly the power sector in India is the fastest, most stable, fast-growing sector, I would say. And we see continued demand for over the next minimum 4 to 5 years, probably even a decade. And this is coming in because of continuous investment, which is coming in from basically three things. One is the per capita consumption. Each one of us is consuming more and more power. Though we are still way short of developed economies, I think we are still consuming much more power than we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Mm,
Think of the number of devices and things,
yeah.
whatever we are doing. The second is the increased electrification of nearly everything, whether it is electric vehicles or trains are going electric, and a lot of these electrification things are going on. So that is one step towards cleaner energy. And all of us are also using a number of digital services, so all of the digitalization is also demanding huge data centers, which are again huge energy
Correct.
factories, I would say. They need lots and lots of energy to run. Each time you shop on Amazon or something, or use net banking on your app, everything is having some huge power requirement
Mm,
somewhere else, so because digital services run that way. And the third clear factor is the renewables coming into the sector mix. We operate primarily in India and the UK markets. In both of them, we see renewable energy
mm,
transition as the biggest driver of energy sector. So to answer your question, the sector is buoyant and the
mm.
growth is steady, and the transformation is coming in mainly from the renewables.
Yeah.
So a lot of technology is being adopted
Yeah.
and integrated into the systems, primarily in terms of making everything a smart grid. So I think this is where our future progress, our future focus will also be on, in terms of smart grid technologies and integrating our products to the smart grid technologies, having our own technologies to integrate it to the smart grid. This is going to be our the future of power sector and what we are going to be focusing on as well.
Well said. And my last question, UKK. Uh, Given what you just told me that you've been working for 32 years, given the fact that you came from an engineering college and now are right at the top, for my viewers and listeners, what would you say are three lessons that you would want them to take away from your journey?
Well, that's a good question and a very deep question as well.
Hmm.
So I would say the first and most important lesson is there's no substitute for hard work. I think
Absolutely.
all the smart work and things are Basically, a lot of shortcuts are being suggested, but they are not long-term solutions. They are like short-term patches. So my first message to all the young professionals would be that irrespective of whatever you hear,
Mm,
there's no substitute for hard work.
correct.
And the second is to have a growth mindset. So this is the work of Dr. Carol Dweck. She
Correct.
wrote about fixed mindset and growth mindset. And a fixed mindset means that intelligence is already given to you. It can't
Mm,
be developed. Whereas when you have a growth mindset, you can definitely develop your intelligence over time. So I would encourage people to invest in themselves
mm,
in terms of having a growth mindset, continuously read up on their domain
mm,
and on what is happening in the industry, and become more and more knowledgeable, right? Follow the right people, start writing articles, attend technical conferences, find what is going on. I mean, don't just get bogged down in your work, also look at what is happening in the industry. So I would say this is the second point, as
mm.
to develop a growth mindset, continuously learn what is happening around you as well. Work hard, have a growth mindset. And the third and the most important point I would say is believe in yourself and focus on your soft skills. And many times we tend to not believe ourselves, and it is time that we believe in ourselves and also learn to develop our soft skills, because these are skills that can get you promoted, and these are skills that can move you up the value chain. These are skills that can help you connect heart to heart with a number of people in your ecosystem,
Mm,
and they can help you network better. They can help you understand better. They help in listening skills, right? When you talk to people, you give them their complete undivided attention, and likewise. So I think these are the three things I would like to
well said.
tell young professionals.
Well said. And on that note, KK, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me. Let me start by talking first about the three lessons, which is where you said there is no substitute for hard work. Have a growth mindset, invest in yourself. And then you said believe in yourself and focus on developing your soft skills. Thank you for so much for speaking to me about leadership and culture. We covered a lot of ground from your own leadership philosophy to working cultures and leadership in India and Europe to ethical standards in leadership. We also spoke at length about diversity and inclusion and equity. Then, when we came to manufacturing excellence, we spoke about technology, we spoke about supply chains, and your looking into the crystal ball and talking about the future trends and being very bullish about the power industry was, I think, going to be a great amount of learning for our viewers and listeners. Thank you for speaking to me and good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for this opportunity. And I really appreciate that through this platform, you're bringing together a lot of ideas and thoughts from people like me to the other professionals in the industry. So, really, thank you for the work that you're doing,
Hmm.
and do stay in touch. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.